Oromorphine. She had been using it for 15 years. I found it quite amazing. Now, that aside, in today's webinar, we are going to step away from the clinical definitions, and we are going to hear the powerful personal stories of those who support patients through it, those who have written and reported stories about it, those who care for, people. I would say those who are the front line, I would call them our frontliners, because without them, you definitely cannot be able to navigate the journey into that. And would like to thank them so much as well. I invite you all to listen with open hearts, reflect deeply, and engage respectfully as we journey together through these moving stories. Then later, I'll be able to tell you how your story can also get on board. But to start with, I would like us to start with Dennis. Dennis, I beg you to introduce yourself, because I know you're from palliative care. You're a palliative care clinician from Joy Hospice. Please share with us your story. There must be a reason as to why you still feel inspired, because when I was doing my stories, there were some students at some institution who had studied palliative care because it's now integrated in the curriculum, but they were not ready to practice it. So please, Dennis, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Madam Matov Sophia. My name is Dennis Unasolo. I work with Joy Hospice Mbale. I'm a palliative care clinician. I've been in palliative care for the last, say, 9 years. I joined Joy Hospice in 2015. Just to give a brief background before I proceed to share my story, Joy Hospice started in 2001 by Dr. Janet White, who was working with Deliverance Church in Mbale. She picked her inspiration from the late Professor Anne Merriman. Her idea was to bring holistic palliative care to Mbale and surrounding districts. On the screen here, we have our premises. This is where we operate. I'm going to basically share 2 stories and give a take about what inspired me to join palliative care. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
So on the screen displayed, we have the premises. Joy Hospice is located in Mbale, Nabionga Rise. That's where we work. We offer palliative care, but also offer some other services beyond palliative care. Our model of palliative care involves both inpatients and outpatients, but occasionally when resources are available, we do some home visits, as I'm going to share. In the second slide in here, there is a patient, a 44-year-old lady. These photos, maybe to make it clear, people might be concerned. The photos have been shared after getting permission from the patients. Well, before we take the photos, we get consent from them. So they did consent, that's why we've shared them. In slide number 2, we have a patient with a 44-year-old female. She came to us in 2018. She had bilateral cancer of breast. Initially, it started with a left breast. That was in 2014. Actually, she got to know when she noticed a mass while she was breastfeeding.
Dennis, we're not seeing the slide. You're still stuck on the initial first page, the first page which shows the premises of Joy Hospice. Please share the second page.
I'm sorry, the slides should be shared by the people at the association. Maybe please, Joyce, could help us move to the next slide, please. Thank you.
Okay. Please, as you go ahead, as she moves to the next slide, because we're still stuck on the first slide.
Okay, so she got to know, she noticed a mass in her left breast as she was breastfeeding her 5th child.
Thank you.
She went to the regional hospital in Mbale. A biopsy was picked. They confirmed that it was cancer, but due to financial constraints, she delayed to get down to UCI. By the time she got to the Cancer Institute, they told her it was late. They could not do a mastectomy. They gave her options, including giving palliative chemo, but I think the resources were not available. She decided to come back home. So through 2016, 2017, she was home. She was struggling. She was using different painkillers, particularly morphine, which I believe she was not taking the right doses. She also tried IV tramadol. It seemed not to have helped. Time came, the brother wanted to take her back to UCI. She said there was no reason for her to go back to UCI. She felt it was her time to die. Actually, she told the brother that she didn't want to go back to any health facility. So she was in too much pain that she could not sleep. She could not do activities of daily living. So time came, someone told her about a place where she could get care to manage her pain. The brother put in a lot of effort to convince her to come to us. By the time she came to the hospice, actually, the second breast had also been affected by cancer. When she came to us, she scored her pain as 10 out of 10. She told us she had not had sleep in a while. Now, having a model of palliative care where we admit patients, we agreed with the brother. We admitted her, started her on morphine on the right way. But after like 24 hours, her pain had reduced to 7 out of 10. We increased the dose. By the third day, actually, her pain had reduced to 4 out of 10, and she had started to sleep. So she stayed with us inpatient for about 72 hours. We discharged her, and her pain was controlled. By the time she got home, she was now able to sleep. She had started to eat. So we kept on seeing her as an inpatient. Time came when we got some money. We bought a motorcycle. We got a grant from True Colors, and we started to do some home visits. So we started to do home visits. We visited a number of patients. There's a particular day we went to her home. We found her in the compound. She was washing her dishes. She welcomed us. She was actually very happy to see us. Where she comes from Sironko in a place called Wallace. It's quite hilly. I think I went there with Joyce and she saw her. But the most striking bit is there's a particular day we went to see her at home and we didn't find her. She had walked and she had gone for a meeting of VHTs. She was actually part of the village health team. So why am I sharing this? When we controlled her pain, we managed her symptoms. She was able to resume activities of daily living. She would sweep the compound, she would wash her own clothes. She would attend some of the social events in the community, including attending burials. Actually, the day she told us she was able to walk for 15 kilometers to go and attend a funeral. She had this cancer of the breast. I think it was not very aggressive. So she lived getting our care up to around 2023. That's when she passed on. But by the time she passed on, she was pain-free. She was able to take care of herself. The cancer later spread and got to the lungs. I think it's when it go to the lungs, it's basically what finished her off. But what I learned in this is if we do not control pain, it can be very disturbing to patients. It even affects the people around them. I don't think any of us would sleep if they had a person in their house who was in pain and they were wailing in pain. Actually, when we went another home visit, she had even invited her sisters because that time we called her and told her we were going to visit her. And we returned with a bunch of matoke and the chicken. So there's always something we can do for these patients. And I was very happy, together with my team, that we managed to control her pain and made her comfortable.
That's a good one. Wycliffe, thank you so much for joining us. It's quite wonderful and beautiful to have you on board and to cater for our brothers and sisters as well who should be part of these wonderful stories. Please go ahead with the second story briefly before we get to the other participants.
Okay, let's get to the next slide. So the next slide is a 19-year-old male, Andrew. He's a sickle cell patient. He has been attending our clinic since he was 5 years old. He usually comes to us in crisis when he's in pain, and we manage his pain. And our model of palliative care allows us to admit. We are able to transfuse him if he needs blood. We're able to give him antibiotics if he needs them. But as all of us might be aware, sickle cell comes with a lot of stigma. So at one point, when this young boy was diagnosed with a sickle cell at 2 years, sadly his mother abandoned him. He left him with the father. Later, the father also abandoned him, left him with the uncle. So basically, it has been the uncle who has been struggling with him. They live in one of the slums here in Mbale. Thanks to an organization called Child of Hope, they took over, and the ones who have been taking care of him, they're able to pay for his medical bills. They're the ones who take him to the hospital. So we've been working with the regional referrer as well, the sickle cell clinic, and he has been on hydroxyurea. Right now he's in senior 3. He keeps on coming in a crisis, usually painful crisis, where we give him morphine, transfuses if his HB is low, give him IV fluids. He has struggled, but looking at sickle cell the way it is and the stigma that is associated with it, I think he has done well to come this far. He was with us just last week. He had severe malaria, which was managed. We discharged him. He's happy and he's working hard in school, and he hopes to become an engineer. But then lately, the sad news is his uncle, the one who has been primarily taking care of him, got involved in a road traffic accident and fractured one of his bones. So actually, the last admission, sadly, he was in alone. It is our nurses who basically took care of him up to when we discharged him.
Thank you so much, Dennis. We do celebrate the dedication of palliative care teams. It's not something we can take for granted. Because I'm just a very quick one I wanted to respond to very quickly before we get to the next person. Many people get or feel a bit frustrated, you know, when you're dealing with a situation or a condition, you're managing the pain, but you know this person is possibly not going to end of their terminal illnesses. How do you manage to put yourself into one piece emotionally? Because you yourself as well have to continue dealing with lots more of different scenarios, but how do you deal with this emotionally, you as Dennis?
Yeah, so truthfully, when I had just joined the hospice here, it was hard. I think I almost took off. It was hard, being someone you're there breaking bad news every day. Yes, we are doing this, but your person is going to die, and ABCD. Yeah, it has an emotional toll. There's that emotional effect it has on you. But then I think the longer you work in it, you get to build the resiliency. You get to build the ability to pull through. At times, well, you go back, spend time with your family, you go have some quiet moments alone and reflect and pull through.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll get back to you still later. Right now, I'd like us to listen through to Joseph. Joseph is a clinical officer, Rays of Hospice Ginger. Joseph would like you to share your story with us. Kindly, please introduce yourself fully and please go ahead. Joseph, can you hear me? Okay. I don't know if Joseph is with us, but I can still also tell you like a little bit more as we wait for Joseph to join us. Joseph, when you're ready, please just let us know that you're with us. I know it's a day that everybody looks toward to, and there are lots of myths and misconceptions going around. But today is also maybe a bit of a launch of a storytelling campaign for palliative care providers in Uganda on what brings them hope, fulfillment, and motivation during the time of caring for others. You know, caring for people where, you know, when you see them struggling in that pain, it takes a lot for somebody to be able to empathize. And like I said, I do give a lot of credit to palliative care teams out there. One of them that I happened to meet when I was in Lira district, there was a nurse, she's called Nurse Philomena. Mature lady, a little bit retired, but Philomena is the star when you talk about or you ask and go looking around for her in Lira. Everybody please knows about her, and it's quite amazing. Joseph, I would like you to join us, please, and we would like to hear your beautiful story because, like we said, today we've gone a little bit different. We're always speaking medical in most cases where conditions or serious issues are concerned, but today we are getting into you people's stories, the caregivers, the medical teams, and not the terminologies in terms of the medical languages. Joseph, are you ready to speak to us now? Can somebody please help Joseph where he is? Joseph, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Olivia, are you ready? Because as we wait for Joseph, we have Olivia and Naki. Okay, Joseph, yes. Please go ahead, Joseph. Introduce yourself fully and then tell us about your story and what you...
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, how are you?
I'm Joseph Valonde, a palliative care clinical officer working with the Rays of Hope Hospice Jinja, the organization I joined in 2022. And up to date, I'm still in the work of doing palliative care services to our people in the Usoga region and beyond. Beyond meaning we always cross over to some districts in Uganda, which is Uiko and Kayunga. And as we talk now, we have already crossed to Busia and all the other districts of Usoga, the 11 in total. Today, I'm very happy and delighted to be part of this platform to share my story working with Rays of Hope Hospice Jinja. To show some small differentiation from my colleague who presented earlier, Rays of Hope Hospice Jinja offers palliative care on a home-based care model. We always drive our vehicles daily to go and look out for patients outside in the comfort of their homes, putting it in mind the poverty in the region and the high costs associated with diagnosis and treatment of the conditions, especially cancer, we are dealing with. You will allow me to go through my presentation.
Please go ahead.
Starting with a short background of what we are doing at Rays of Hope. Well, I'm sorry, some of the figures may not be indicated, but when you look at the pie chart, in 2024 there, we had 1,302 patients who were enrolled on program at our organizational Rays of Hope Hospice Jinja, which gives us an average of 696 patients, which you have to care for on program per month. Out of all these cancer patients we have listed enrolled above, 65% are females, could be associated their health-seeking behavior being better than that of men. 35% as usual, they are the men. And out of all those cancers, 80% were for children. We have a table there showing the new patients. We have kept on enrolling from 2016 and the patients we have served in those respective years up to 2024. So we looked at in cancer management, we always have what we call obstacles or what prevents our people from getting the good health care they deserve. One of the reasons I noticed was the longer distances, the primary care units, the few secondary and tertiary treatment facilities we have in Uganda and our catchment area, limited drug supplies, limited knowledge at health units, and again, very importantly, is the limited knowledge in the communities where a lot of myths and misconceptions, people pose it against these life-limiting illnesses. And of course, in our region, you're looking at the statistics of Uganda. Busoga is one of the highly indented poverty regions we have. So, as a rise of hope, after discovering that there is a very big challenge with access to health care, we always reach you where you are, trying to bridge the gap of longer travels, longer distances at primary health care units. We treat the pain and symptoms at your comfort of your home. We deliver the medicines, all the painkillers and symptomatic medicines up to morphine at your home at a free cost, which is done on patients' visit done twice a month to make sure that our patients be pain-free. We train health workers and communities so that we empower them with knowledge about these cancers. And most importantly, we also do what we call psychosocial support, putting it in mind that these cancers not only affect our physical bodies, but also are associated with emotional disturbances. Now, based on that, we also do the prevention, because we have seen very many people presenting with cancers which could be prevented, cancers which could be treated and you get cured, like cervical cancer, where you can get HPV vaccine for our younger girls. So we also, as hospice, we venture in, support health facilities to make sure they go for vaccination of these girls. And we are also doing massive outreaches for cervical cancer screening to make sure we detect these cancers very early. And our youngest baby on the program is the treatment support program, where we enable people we find with treatable cancers or people with early stages of the cancers, so that we help them at a cost-sharing model to make sure they access the treatment they need at the Uganda Cancer Institute. Now, all that said and done, I want to acknowledge or put my story of inspiration to a patient we enrolled on the 25th of March this very year at our field office in Namaingo. This patient came in, we had HIV, he was a known ISS patient since 2020 and receiving his heart refills from our only health center 4 we have in the district, which is Wiyinja Health Center 4. He's a resident of our village Vutaja in Namaingo district, presented to us with a 3-month history of abdominal distension. He was wasted by that time and appeared to be hopeless. Now, he had a history of being diagnosed with active hepatitis B alongside his HIV, and they had prescribed diuretics, Lasix and spironolactone. But spironolactone in our villages here, I don't know what is happening in town in Kampala, but just a single tablet of spironolactone goes to 1,500, and he had to take it for some long time. So because he had no finances, he had to cross to hospice. After hearing us at the radio, he had to come over to us, brought in by his father. Then we had to initiate him on adherence support because he had HIV already. We counseled him very well on the importance of taking his heart and initiated him on the diuretics, which he had missed for some time. We gave him the diuretics. And after a short period of time, we were happy to see our patient greatly improved under our care. So in the previous slide, you could see our patient with the cap. Then after our treatment in just 3 months, you could see the ascites had already gone. Our cap is still there. But what is most important, given the improvement we had helped him to achieve, what is most important with this patient of ours called Mukaga Richard he became a beacon of hope for patients in Namayingo and Busia district. He uses his father's bicycle to reach out and support other people in remote areas who present similar like he was before coming to hospice. So for him, he makes sure any person with a distended belly, given that you are not pregnant, you are supposed to be linked to hospice for care. And as we talk now, he has already connected 6 more patients battling pain and hopelessness, similar to the way he was before joining hospice. As we always say, the UN Development Goals for 2030, Richard is in line with these goals of helping the poor people have access to health services they need. Below, you will look at some of the patients which Mukaga Richard have helped, at least, to have a hope to live a painful-free environment. Now you see on my left, you are seeing the parents, 2 parents of a young patient who was referred in by Mukaga. They got his contact, called him, he went home and found out them, reached there, then made sure they footed from their home up to hospice office. Unfortunately, we found out that the child has advanced cancer, had multiple abdominal pregnancies. They had gone through paracentesis twice. So with all inguinal lymph nodes everywhere, so we started the kid who had a lot of pain on morphine, and we are doing the symptomatic management. Right now, they are pain-free, trying to improve, but all courtesy of Mukaga Richard. Even on the other side of the screen, you could see a gentleman supported to stand, holding on his brother, and on his right hand is still our hero, Mukaga Richard, who also identified the patient after 4 times of paracentesis and was referred to hospice. We found out the patient had an abdominal lymphomas, in a lot of pain, initiated him on morphine, and then the diuretics as usual. So we are trying to control his pain. Mostly next week we are going there for review, but the cause we are getting from there, the patient is improving. Not stopping there, on our right still is another patient, the chairperson of the village where Mukaga comes from. Also, after observing that Mukaga had responded very well to the treatment because they almost had a similar problem, Mukaga also led the chairperson to our office and is also under care, receiving free medicine from our office. And the last day care, where we always bring our patients together, they share experiences. The chairperson was there doing greatly. And then on his other side is also our colleague who had renal challenges. He had been to Mulago, also prescribed some medicines, including diuretics, but because he had no money, came back home, and you could see he appears to be a rich man with an asaka. But when he came to our office, introduced him on free medications, all courtesy of Mukaga Richard. The patient is doing very fine, doing well, and that one thrives.
Joseph, I would like
Yes?
to just ask you in one, just give me this in just like a sentence. In terms of, in your conversation, you did talk about myths and misconceptions. What are the common myths and misconceptions about palliative care in your region? Please, just in about a sentence.
Yeah, the common myth is always associated with witchcraft, because many of our patients, we always find them in churches where they are being prayed for. So they always associate the cancers to witchcraft. That's why it is always very hard to trap them in our health facilities. And we have to use people like Mukaga Richard, who stay with them in their communities to help us track these people and refer them for care. So as I conclude,
just in a minute, please.
Cancer
Concluding
management,
a minute.
Cancer management calls for compassion, calls for each one of us to put the hands together to make sure we save these lives. Given the little education Mukaga has, because the senior to drop out, he chose to act by bringing hope to people who are forgotten in the communities there. Too many people still suffer in silence due to myths and delays we have talked about, but we surely need a lot of mukagas in our communities, where you need to stay where you are and act with what you have. All efforts matter.
Okay, thank you so much, Joseph. And Mukaga is really a hero and needs to be celebrated. I like the fact that he has been able to bring other people who have been struggling and had no hope to come and receive proper management of their conditions. At this particular point, I would like us to turn to Olivia Nachigoze, who is a sign language interpreter, and she works with NBS Television. Now, Olivia, can you describe your role as a sign language interpreter in palliative care settings?
Thank you so much, Sophie, and good evening, team. I'm very glad to be here this evening to share my story as a sign language interpreter, supporting deaf clients in palliative care. First of all, I want to appreciate the previous presenters. They shared their stories, but more of from the medical part of it. Then I come in to share from the layman's language. Thank you so much, Pikao, for giving us this opportunity to bring out these stories. Some of these stories, we term them as untold stories, but they're there and they do exist. I first of all appreciate Pikao. Some years back, they took us through a training of palliative care. By that time, I was working with Uganda National Association of the Deaf. They brought a lot of understanding to me when I knew that palliative care is about supporting the whole person, including their physical, emotional, social, and spiritual needs. Yeah, that was an eye-opener to me. Now, as a sign language interpreter, my role is to bridge the communication gap between the deaf clients and the service providers. And this is what I have done for years. Of course, we have had challenges, and you know that if you are in that state, terminally ill, sometimes there is no hope that you will have life again. You always need someone to talk to. You always need someone to be there for you. But the challenge with the deaf community is the communication barrier. It starts with the family. They're not able to express to the family how they're feeling, the pain, and they feel that state of isolation and being neglected, and no one understanding them, starting with the family. And then when it comes to the medical personnel, most of the medical personnel here, even on this platform, have not had any basics in sign language training. It is a challenge. So that is where I come in with my story. I have been able to provide sign language interpretation services in various settings. I have worked with TASO, providing sign language interpreters to clients who are receiving a service from that side. And one touching story that I would love to start with, and it's kind of a motivation to me that keeps me on doing this work. I have been providing the services, and you know that health issues are confidential. Everyone would have loved to share their pain, whatever they are going through, directly with a medical personnel. But because of the communication barrier, then the interpreter comes in. So I have been doing it with it. So then one time, I wasn't able to get there. I got busy. And then the deaf clients tell the counselor, kindly, we don't want any other interpreter because of confidentiality. If you dare bring any other person, we shall sue you. So that alone is a motivating factor that the clients, the deaf clients, have built trust in me to be able to provide this service, and they are comfortable and they will be able to explain whatever they are going through. So one, the trust that they have built in me. Then there was also another scenario, because I am sharing lived experiences. Sorry, I did not prepare a PPT. Just listen to my story. And I hope after my story, we can have some learnings, we can have some action points, because there's some work that PICAO had begun on a sign language manual. I hope as I share my story, we'll again pick it up from there. So there was this client, a deaf client, who wasn't adhering to medicine. And I know he was getting sick and becoming weak. So he developed swellings around the neck, and it was really, really, really painful. So I had to come in, and we went to hospital. Yeah, they took care of him very well. They did the operation, and it was really painful. So after the operation, yeah, the counselors talked to this deaf client about adhering to medicine. And I am glad to say that since then, he has adhered to medicine, and his quality of life improved, as PICAO told me that one goal of palliative care is to improve the quality of life. I am glad that at least he's now okay, and he is now better. So one motivating factor is building trust in me. And also, as you know, that access to information is vital in the health setting. Most of the information we give out as health practitioners, or even Ministers of Health, if you are here, even if those adverts on television, you never see a sign language interpreter conveying this message. At times, there is a message, come for cancer screening at this facility. But because there is no one to do the interpretation, then deaf people will lose out on these particular opportunities. So if I have been able to convey information to deaf people, and I'm glad that at least some of them have been able to go to some facilities, of course, with the difficulty in communicating, because I cannot be everywhere, but they do go to those facilities and access services and undergo screening. As we know, statistics here show that like 90% of the deaf people haven't been to school. There are some who are lucky to be communicating through writing, but this is the experience they shared with me, that when you go to a health setting and you're writing to a doctor, it takes time. You remember there is a line waiting. So if a doctor is not patient, he can't stay with you for an hour when he has almost maybe 100 clients waiting. And of course, we have been advocating to have sign language interpreters in health settings, but we are not yet there. So another factor, or another point, or where I have really been motivated to continue providing sign language interpretation services to deaf clients with palliative care needs. As you know, in that stage, when you have palliative care needs, it affects the family. And this has been a big challenge to families, because they are unable to communicate to their daughters or sons. The son is completely down, and the family is also stressed, and the deaf client has also feeling left alone. So I have been called in to some families, and by the mere fact that the deaf client sees me going near him or her and communicating, and also bridging the communication gap between him or her and the family. This brings hope to the deaf client and a bit relief to the deaf client. So many stories. I hope Sophie, you can stop me if I have like 2 minutes.
Okay, Olivia,
Yes.
now I'm going to ask you a final one.
I
I would like you to respond in about a minute. I know palliative care is an emotionally demanding area, and you have played a very vital role in training many of these young sign language interpreters. What advice would you give to them? Because remember, you can be able to handle possibly their emotions, but some of them, it might be something a little bit different. Your final take message to them.
Yeah, my final take to the young interpreters, as a profession, we have what we call confidentiality. Confidentiality is key if we are to provide services to our deaf clients and if we are to build trust. So whatever information is got from the medical setting or from the family, kindly, confidentiality and love. And Sophie, before I go off, also something that I noted, I'm a strong believer in Christ, and I have helped the deaf people with palliative care needs. The spirituality has done us good. Depending on one's belief, you talk to someone about God, there is life after death. And then, it gives someone hope. And, by the time you leave, someone is a bit okay. So, let me stop there unless I'll get more questions. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Olivia, because I am, and actually Wycliffe, we cannot afford to ignore you because what you do takes quite a lot. I imagine when you get into emotionally charged situations, but you've been able to manage. And when you talk about yourself in terms of being a strong believer, that is a given. I have seen you quite in many spaces, and you have been able to do this religiously without fail. Thank you so, so much. I know there are very many beautiful stories out there. We'll get an opportunity with this campaign that is going to be launched for everybody to share their wonderful stories. But right now, let's listen to a team from Kawempo Home Care. I would like to share briefly what inspires them to care for children. Children are a bit of a sensitive category to deal with. Please, a representative from Kawempe Home Care, come out and share what inspires you to care for children. Hello, do we have a representative from Kawempe Home Care? We don't want to miss out on your beautiful story. Please come out and share your story with us. Okay, or maybe as we wait for the person from Kawempe Home Care.
Hello.
Please go ahead. Hello, yes. How are you? Kindly introduce yourself. We are getting feedback from you.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and share your story.
Okay, this is Sarah Komgisha from Kawempe Home Care. Sorry, I joined in, but I couldn't see my microphone to unmute and talk. I don't know whether I entered without a microphone or something. So, I'm Sarah Komugisha from Kawempe Home Care. I'm working as a program manager and also I'm a palliative care nurse. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, please. So what inspires me in providing palliative care is a lot. First of all, I'm a parent, and Kawempe Home Care takes care of children having cancer, and these children come from very far away from Kampala. And we happen to have this vision to take care of these children, because these children originally would come to Mulago, and the Mulago would be full, and they would be sleeping outside on the verandas. Some of them would not have what to eat. So they would go on the streets begging for people to give them money so that they can buy something to eat. Some of them, whenever they would go back they fail to return because of the transport and also being very far. And you know that chemotherapy really takes a very long time. We have some children who have been with us here for like 5 years. So every time I see these children here being taken care of, they are now off the street and also can sleep well, eat, and interact with others. It really gives me a lot of joy. And every time I tell my story about how I love the children, and when we tell them about the children at Kawempe Home Care, this is how they have come in to really support us. Because a child really needs to be free from pain, needs to be loved. And you know very well that if it is a parent taking care of this child and is not taken care of as well, then they lose hope. You find that they are there, they are rude to the children, they are just managing them anyhow, they do not give them a special care. But once they have someone supporting them, then the stress goes a bit low, and the pain, once it is controlled, the child is able to play. So actually, me, most of the time I be here and interact with them. One day I was playing with them, and so one of the child said, I asked why the child is not playing. Then he said, me, I cannot play because at one time I played and my brother was playing and he fell down and he died. So you can imagine these children, the moment you don't interact with them, then you will never know exactly what is happening with them. So I had to really like counsel him, tell him that it is not all that every time you play, then you fall and die. Maybe there was another problem. That's why your brother died. So he started playing slowly, slowly. This child picked up, and this really gives me a lot of joy. Now, as you see, Kawempe Home Care has been fundraising, and I've been really down there spearheading the fundraising. And the reason why we came up with this and why I volunteered really to spearhead the fundraising is because of the love I have for the children. When we heard that they are selling the premises, I was like, now these children, are they going to go back on the verandas, on the street? What? So we had to really like work hard and make sure that we alarm, we whistle outside there for people to help us. And me, the joy I have, even if I died today, this success of the home for these children is really something which has inspired me a lot. And the children will be there forever, and people come and go, but the house or the home will still be there to welcome many other children. And so I even take this opportunity to thank all people who were in for us, to support us have these children find a home, because it is important that these children have where to belong or have support so that they can be able to also adhere properly on treatment.
Okay, just
I
a
don't
quick
know if
one when you say
there is any
providing. Okay,
question, but I think
okay,
that
I
is
have a
it
question for
that
you.
I can give. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? When you talk about providing a home for these children, how many children are you housing? And in particular, do you have a specific age bracket? Because what happens when they grow?
Yes, we are taking care of children 18 years and below, and our capacity has been 30 children and 30 caretakers. But of course, the challenge has also been in that some of the parents have been having like two children, because you realize that a mother has a young one who is still breastfeeding, but maybe the elder child is the one who is sick. You cannot tell her to leave the child at home and then come with this one who is sick, and yet the treatment takes long. So you find that even we go beyond that. So you find that we go up to like 70 people. But ideally, it is supposed to be 30 children with 30 caretakers. But sometimes we go beyond that. And also another challenge has been that some of these children, when they are given a long appointment, we sort of like ask them to go home so that we can create space for others who are newly diagnosed and also who are returning for treatment. But sometimes when they are returning for treatment, they find when already the hostel is full, and then they also come in. But we thank the Lord that where we have now procured, it is the more spacious. Maybe it will give us more space for more children. But we also have very nice stories. Like we have a child who was abandoned by the mother in Mulago, who is called Idi. This child was going to sit for his senior 6, but remember the policy in the hostel is a child must have a caretaker. But when this child was abandoned by the mother in Mulago, those people of Mulago sent this boy to us. We took up the boy because when the boy gave us the story how the mother really left him in the hospital, we felt so bad, so we had to really like take him up. The boy sat for his exams while he's admitted in Mulago. Actually, the police would bring the exams from Gulu, and then this boy sits while he's admitted in Mulago. But you can imagine this boy passed very well and went to Makerere University, and he's doing civil engineering, and I think he's about to finish. So there are many successful stories, and we also have some children who have successfully finished the treatment and declared cured, and so this really gives us a very nice hope for other children if they are well supported, and this promotes also continuity on treatment. So we shall have done a lot working together.
Thank you so much. It's always, when you're dealing in issues or matters to do with palliative care, empathy is one of the key factors that stands out quite a lot. You should be able to have a heart. You should be able to understand. You should be able to feel, because without that, you will not be able to understand the person you're taking care of and what they are going through. At this particular point, I would like to look out for my sister who is there, Esther. Yeah, she's a journalist who has written about palliative care stories. And of course, you look at us and you're like, but what really compels and pushes them to address those issues? We do also have the human side of us. And we also would like to tell people else to be able to participate in it. Esther, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now Esther, yes, I can hear you. I'm curious to find out how you identify and choose the people you do the stories for, those kind of feature stories you've been doing on palliative care. How are you able to identify and say this is a story that is going to be able to do news and a story that really needs being given attention to?
Thank you so much. Sorry, I will not put my video.
It's okay, please.
My name is Esther Nakazi. I am a health and science journalist. I'm mostly freelance. I write for different publications, most of them based out of Uganda. But recently, I got to do the magazine for 25 years of Picao, and that really opened a big picture of palliative care to me. But I also write for a publication called Cancer World, based in the UK. So how do I identify the stories and what inspires me, and how do I look for these stories? I've just been listening to the previous speaker. Sorry, I forgot the name. Remind me, Sophie.
Okay, the previous speaker from Kawempe?
Yes, Kawempe Home Care.
Home care for children. You say
Yes.
Asimwe? Yes.
Sarah.
Okay, please go ahead.
I think that past, the child she talked about, the senior 6 child, that is a very, very powerful story. This is a child who has been abandoned. This is a child who got cured. This is a child who sat for their exams. These stories give hope. So in such a scenario, just listening to her, I'm looking at what Kawempe did, how the health workers, helped this boy, how the system gave him medicines and he's back to life, because when you do palliative care, the idea that the public has is that palliative care is for the dying. And when I was
Yeah, true.
interviewing the minister recently for the Picao magazine, she said, yeah, there is this misconception, and Dr. Dungu spoke to it too. People think palliative care is for the dying. We need to remove that from people's heads in Uganda and make them understand that it's not only for the dying. But for me, really, stories that give hope are something that I love talking about. But also, there are people who die. I mean, will not run away from it. And these people's stories are never told. A journalist's duty is to tell stories. And if you died and your story is not told, then people are missing out on it. So it's inspiring if you hear these stories and you're like, okay, maybe this person died, but there's some way the system would have helped them to be alive and be there. That is something that you want to document. Or if this person survived, like the Kawempe child care home child who is alive and thriving, that is hope, and you want to document that. But we also look out for stories that show health gaps. Sometimes we all know that this country offers morphine free of charge to palliative care patients. Some people do not know that there is this free available drug that can help. So you want to highlight somebody to tell people like this is available, this can be used in your journey, in your palliative care journey, and this is something that is given free of charge. And there are people who are ready to come and help you out, even at your home, because palliative care is given at home. So the other thing that I look at is really advocacy, and which is really advocacy, which is done through journalism. Every time we are writing a story, we are advocating for something better, for something to be done and streamlined and made, well. When you go down now, we have the data that is being input into the HMIS, into the health system information system on palliative care. That is something great. That is something that we really hold on to. And when I was interviewing the guy, the doctor in charge, Dr. Moses, he said, okay, when we look at the how much morphine is being used in this region as compared to that region, we then understand, is this region, taking good care of their patients in terms of palliative care? Why are they consuming so much morphine? Why are they not consuming it? How are they consuming? So the numbers tell stories, and we have a duty as journalists to tell stories and put a face. So I would definitely follow up a person who is using this drug and interview Dr. Moses and understand what is the face behind these figures that you have on your dashboard that are being input by health workers. But also I want to applaud the health workers here because they do a good job. If a health worker out there is doing a magnificent job like the health worker from Rays of Hope, I came to Rays of Hope some time back and went all the way to Nansolo. I think, yeah, that's where we went all the way. And I saw them doing a beautiful job. They were screening women of HPV, of cervical cancer, sorry. They were promoting the use of HPV. You would see, and it's this, they were motivating other people to uptake the service. Let's screen the women. Let's see what is happening in there. Let's refer them if they have a problem. So those stories are very, very good to tell, and they inspire other people, and they give hope, and they help the communities understand that it's not all doom and failure.
Okay, now Esther, your final remark, but your final remark is going to be in form of like, I want it to be very brief. You're going to summarize it. I know I'm getting you just like possibly you have not yet I know you've done many beautiful stories, but there's that one story. Can you summarize it, chap, and share with us? Would like to hear the story you have done. And up to today, you're very proud of yourself that I did that particular story and I didn't let it die.
Oh, no, let me just share the latest story that I've done. The latest story that I've done is about Dr. Merriman. Merriman came to Uganda, a very beautiful story. Dr. Anne Merriman is known to all the people here in palliative care. I went down, interviewed the people she lived with. She had a Ugandan family. I understood how, I went to Hospice Africa, Uganda, spoke to Miriam, spoke to the people there. How was she that to me, I mean, helps other people maybe who want to come into Uganda because she was Irish, maybe come and improve what we are doing here in terms of palliative care, but also the local people. Like somebody came all the way from Ireland, and 37 countries now in Africa can offer palliative care. That is wonderful. And anybody in Uganda can do that too, or we can build on the successes of what other people do. So those are stories that I think can be told. And if they are told, they expand and inspire other people.
Yeah, true. Thank you so much, Esther. Now, I'll tell you for a fact when it comes to some of these bits, on the bit of like oromorphine, like I told you, my own personal experience in Lira, the lady that I met was my namesake, Sophia, has lived for 15 years. And how she has been living, she is constantly one of those when there is a stock, when there is supply of oromorphine at Lira Hospital, she's always called upon and she'll go and pick it. And also what she's opted to do is to speak to some of the different patients she finds there. And the beautiful thing also that I would say that about palliative care is that the hospital, the regional referral hospital of Lira, was able to provide space where palliative care is being paid attention to, a specific unit, an office space on the new block. That was also quite exciting, finding the team shifting from the old administrative block to the new structure where they're also part of what is being celebrated. At this particular point, I would like us to sit back and reflect briefly on some of the stories. Do you have a story out there as you're listening into this webinar? If you have a story, I'm not the expert to tell you on how you're going to join the campaign. We are going to be joined right now by Joyce Zarango, who is the Capacity Building Manager at Palliative Care Association of Uganda. She's going to share with us any updates and be able to tell us about the whole intention, because why are we gathered here this evening? Why are we having this conversation? Joyce, out to you right now.
Thank you so much, Sophia, and thank you so much to all the people online. We are so grateful as the Palliative Care Association of Uganda for honoring this invitation. It's a very important moment for the palliative care fraternity in this country as we talk about the work we do. And the very big thing we are looking at, it's my palliative care story inspired by the impact of our work. And the question is, why did we think about such a webinar at such a time? This is basically to offer an opportunity to palliative care providers to share what brings hope, fulfillment, and motivation during the time of caring for others. And we want to inspire one another and bring pride to our profession. We've had the very good stories from all the presenters that presented, and it's a lot that they've done as they meet the patients, but it inspires them, the impact that they do to improve the quality of life of these patients and their families, and this gives them the light and energy to serve again. So like I mentioned, like Sophia mentioned, many times we've talked about patients, we've talked about their caregivers in our advocacy, but it's time now to promote and say, let's talk about our work as the palliative care providers. Secondly, we want to promote a discussion and a learning platform about the best practices of the palliative care services we offer in this country. And this will give an opportunity for many people to learn from us I know and always celebrate. We are the champions of palliative care in Africa, and we will want always to share our stories. We want to also raise more awareness. As the Palliative Care Association of Uganda, one of our focus areas is advocacy and awareness creation from the national level to the grassroots. And today we say we have the voices that are the witnesses, that are the textbooks that do this work. What inspires them that will move someone in policy, someone in education, someone in the health department to contribute and support palliative care development in this country? And lastly, but very important for us, is to launch a storytelling campaign of palliative care providers in Uganda. It will not stop this year. We want to see that the stories are out there speaking about the great work you do, the great work the media houses do to amplify the voice, to reach out to all those that need the voice. When you look at the screen, we have a flyer. It explains in details what is this campaign about? Why do we have to share our stories? I've mentioned, and it's important to know who is sharing the story. We have the hospice teams. In this campaign, we are not going to share our stories as one person. We are going to look at teams. We're going to look at the hospice teams all over the country. We have 13 hospices in this country. Share their stories, what inspires them and motivates them to offer the service. We have the journalists, people like Sophie, people like Esther that have documented this work and moved it out of Africa to Europe, to the USA, to any other continent. What inspires them to do this? That's the great mind we want to put on paper and share with everyone. We have the sign language interpreters. We have the community of people with listening or hearing impairment. These are very key and important people, like Olivia mentioned. They go to hospital because they can't explain themselves. They end up going back with their pain because no health worker can even score their pain from 0 to 5. Instead of getting analgesia that will help for their moderate to severe pain, they are given paracetamol that would be used for their mild pain. So she is so proud as she does this. She is able to interlink the health worker and the client. So we want that documented better. And lastly, we have palliative care teams. These are all over the country in 230 accredited health facilities, offering palliative care from the palliative care units. We have trained palliative care providers with very beautiful stories, very inspiring stories that have helped them to continue. One of the palliative care providers said, having my patients' pain controlled, enabling them to continue with their daily work, it is enough for me and satisfies me to say, I'll move out for home-based care again. So those are the very nice stories we want to feature. Where should this be? Or how are we going to participate? We are going to compile these stories as teams and share them to the Palliative Care Association of Uganda through the communications email that will be shared on email, and also to all our social media platforms. We'll be putting up this flyer, all using our WhatsApp group. Please share your story as teams, and we will also send out the guidelines for what should be the composition or what should a story look like. Just briefly, we are looking at 200 words. We are looking at having your logo onto the story. We are looking at a photo of the team, and we are looking at that excellent story that will be selected at the conference. All stories will be vetted, will be selected, which one is the best story at the 5th Uganda Conference on Cancer and Palliative Care in Uganda, which is happening from the 10th to the 12th of September at Munyonyo Speak Resort, Kampala. Please be a part of the conference so that you're able to also vote or select your story in addition to all the other expected 500 delegates that will attend the conference. From that, the best stories will be awarded. The winning stories will receive awards, but more excellent to mention, the very two best stories will feature in the storytelling event during the conference. The first day of the conference, the evening, we'll have a storytelling event where we want to listen to all these inspiring stories and see how we motivate all our delegates from all over the globe that will be participating at the conference. I encourage you, please, don't miss the conference. Important to note, we have a deadline of 20th August 2025, so the writing starts tonight, and then you submit. Don't forget to register for the conference. It's here. Please, the team will paste the link to the website, register for the conference, pay up for the conference, and join us. I can't mention it all, but to say it's the stories that connect us. It's the stories that transform us. They cause healing and bring purpose to us. As we reflect as palliative care providers, they help to relieve grief and suffering as we encounter people who have lost hope. And this helps us to restore hope to every individual client that we come across. Thank you so much, Sophia, and that's all from me, unless there is a question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joyce. I believe you've ably put it out. I would like to just urge them to pay attention to your website, I'm sure, and all the other communication channels that you have mentioned for them to be able to get this information. But also to say thank you so much to, Picao, because it's not every day that this kind of arrangement happens. Always you're the people behind the scenes as the palliative care providers and teams doing the work, but you are never celebrated. But for you to come up with a challenge that is going to celebrate the teams is something that cannot be taken for granted. I would urge everybody to pick up your pen and paper. The writing starts as soon as you're off this webinar. Joyce and the team behind there, thank you for making this possible. Thank you so, so much. And thank you so much, the people who've told you beautiful stories. Have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sophie, and thank you all to the team that logged on. We have our donors, our partners, our friends. Thank you so much, and we look up to receiving very many stories from the team. Thank you so much.